If you're a real estate agent and you're tired of cold calling, door knocking, and spending money on ads, then subscribe to this podcast. We discuss leveraging the power of YouTube for your real estate business and how these strategies earned us over $1 million in GCI our first year in real estate. My name is Levi Lascsak and my partner is Travis Plum. Let's get started. So today we are joined by our special guest, Candice Morales. And even though I did put in the bio, she is with the Serhant team. That's really a small portion of her business. So, the most important thing is she is a small business owner, just like everybody else in here. She is a real estate agent, licensed real estate agent, splits her time between Las Vegas and San Diego. And depending on the weather, I suppose, and although San Diego should have pretty perfect weather year round. So, but anyways, she is very well known on Instagram, and again, part of the creative team with Serhant as a consultant, I guess you would say, so rub shoulders with some of the top and the best in the business, but also enjoy. If you ever check out her reels, if you're not following her on Instagram, you definitely want to follow Candice, Elevate with Candice on Instagram, and you'll get lots of good ideas to create reels and short form content for real estate agents. And it's a lot of fun. She keeps me laughing all the time. So really great to have you, Candice. How are you doing? Is there anything I left out or anything you would like everyone to know about
I'm
yourself?
like, wow, Levi knows everything about me. Heading to San Diego tomorrow. Oh, no, today, actually, this afternoon. So, yeah, I'm in Vegas right now. It's nice and cool over here right now. So it's kind of nice, but I'm ready to see the ocean. So heading over there tomorrow. But you know me so well, Levi. Thanks for all of the compliments on my content. I'm excited to be here and chat with y'all.
All right, and then could you quickly introduce or briefly introduce kind of how would you describe your business and how you help real estate agents?
Yeah, so Elevate with Candice, that's my business. What I do is I help real estate agents show up and show off in the online space. That includes helping people get over their fear of creating video content, getting clarity around who they are, who they serve, and how they serve them, which is really important. If you find that you're asking yourself the question, I don't know what kind of content to create, it's probably a symptom of not really knowing who you are, who you serve, and how to serve them, and how you serve them. And so that's what I love doing. I recently just added a designer to my team, so I also help agents develop their visual brand identity, because I know that that's sometimes a thing that holds people back from showing up online, is that they don't feel maybe polished enough. And sometimes just having that visual brand identity done is one step towards putting yourself out there. So that's kind of what I do. I'm also, like you said, Levi, I am an licensed real estate agent. I mainly do referral business because I have so many amazing friends across the country and across the world at this point who are agents. It makes it really easy for me to hand people off to people that I really trust. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You actually gave me my first three questions that I'm going to ask you already. So we'll get to that here in a minute. And please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Levi Lascsak. I'm a real estate YouTuber in Dallas, Texas. And I would say, yes, I am a YouTuber because I'm not the best real estate agent. But however, I do attract quite a bit of business through YouTube, and that does feed a lot of people. So that's just something that we've been very fortunate on, and just through creating video and content and attracting that type of business. I'm here with my co-mod and main man, Matt LaMarche. How you doing today, buddy? Can you briefly introduce yourself and say hello?
Yeah, sure. Matt LaMarche here in Atlanta, Georgia. I love Candice. She's awesome.
Hi, Matt. So good to see you.
You as well. Looking forward.
You're going to come visit me in Vegas soon, right? Next month?
Yeah, March 6th to 9th, I think. So, yeah, I'm looking forward.
All right. See you then.
Awesome. And Justin, I see you're off the phone. So how are you today, my good friend? And could you briefly introduce yourself and say hello?
I am glorious, sitting next to Candice Morales, and I see Matt and Mike and everybody else. Justin Conoco, Southwestern Ontario, Canada. And yeah, I like YouTube a lot, so I'm excited for this room.
Justin, I have to tell you that I just used one of your reels in my training video last night.
Oh, which one?
The one where you ask how much is this house in Ottawa, Canada, and then you had like 156 comments of people guessing, which is great engagement. So I showed them that you used a strong hook and you engaged your audience. It was awesome.
That's awesome. Don't talk to the trolls. I've learned that.
Don't feed the
All right,
trolls.
guys. Yeah, there you go. Well, awesome. So great. So we can definitely discuss that as well. And if you could, in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see little two circular arrows with the share, but that is a share button, guys. If you would be so kind, and if you're getting value out of these rooms or you've been in here before, then please share that room. Just post it somewhere, just to heighten the awareness for the YouTube for Real Estate room here that we host. This is all free for you. So let's get into it. Candice, you said three very important things that I picked up on immediately, which I think we can absolutely dive into quickly, and then open it up to audience Q&A. And guys, so if you're in the audience and you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand or hit me up on the back channel if you're a little shy to come up on stage, although I'd recommend coming up on stage because that will help also in your video conquest. So you mentioned, Candice, if people are struggling, that they're probably struggling mainly not with content, but who they are, who they serve, and how to serve them. So let's break each one of those down because this is relevant across all video, whether you're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. The most important thing I believe is to really understand and find your audience. It's something we've been very strategic and intentional about on YouTube, which is why we've talked about not sharing our content on other social platforms because we really want YouTube to dial in. I think that could be the same on Instagram. I think it's very hard to cross pollinate, you could say, or uh, you know transfer somebody from one platform to another platform when they're in the middle of that platform. And so that, sharing a YouTube video to Instagram, most people, when they're on Instagram, I believe they're there to consume Instagram. And if they click over and see a 20-minute video on YouTube, it's probably not in their attention span right then to watch that 20-minute video. So we don't cross promote, but we understand who we serve and we understand the audience. Now, also, you have to build that audience up in the first place before you can really get to understand them. But you want to have your target audience in mind, or your target avatar. Who is that person that you're trying to reach? You want that in mind. But as your audience develops, you're going to get to know them better, and you will develop a relationship with your audience, and that's going to help you serve them, and that's going to help. Help you with content creation ideas down the road. But let's start with the first one, Candice, who you are in video. Can you kind of speak a little bit more to that about how can people kind of find out who they are and who they should be on video? Does that make sense? Is that a good question? Did I frame that
Yeah,
well?
yeah, absolutely. So I think that the place that I always encourage people to start is by asking, it's like pull your friends and family. Start with your friends and family and ask them a few questions about what comes to mind when they think about you. Like, what are maybe three words that describe you? I think that if you spend some time recognizing like the patterns, the things that people say about you over and over again, it can be really helpful for you to sometimes we don't see it in ourselves, but when other people say the same words over and over again, like they're telling you the truth about who you are, who they see you as. And when you can kind of see yourself from someone else's eyes, you understand what it looks like to show up in that way. I'll give you an example. So when I was starting out with video content, this is actually an exercise that my coach gave me at the time. She was like, I want you to talk to at least 5 people, and I want you to see, what words come up over and over. And one of the words that came up over and over again, and I don't think it was a compliment either. I think it was like an exasperated, like, Candice, you are relentless, like in the most annoying way, right? They're like, ugh, Candice, you're relentless. And I decided that I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm freaking relentless. Am I allowed to cuss in here? I am, I'm fucking relentless. Okay, that is who I am. And instead of trying to tone myself down because people are exasperated that I'm relentless, I'm just going to play that up. I'm going to own that I'm relentless. It's probably not a word that I would have used to describe myself at the time, but now I like wear it as a badge of honor. Like, I'm so freaking relentless that people recognize me outside of my city. People stop and talk to me because I showed up even when I wasn't qualified, right? Even when I didn't have enough experience, because I had a goal and vision in mind. And I probably would not have, like I said, ever picked that word about myself or ever owned that piece of me had I not heard it from multiple people in my circle. And so sometimes you have to ask people what it is that they see as your strengths, what things that you can improve. I also got that, right? Things that I could do better from other people. And when I recognize, like, oh, not only do I see that as a weakness in myself, but other people recognize it too. Maybe that's something I should work on. So I think really asking your people that you spend the most time with, what how they describe you can really help. And then deciding what parts of that you want to absolutely own and double down on, and what parts of that maybe you want to explore and improve. Does that answer your question, Levi?
Yeah, that was great. I was just going to pass it over to Matt as well. Matt, do you have anything you could add, or what would you say as far as helping people, figure out who they are before they venture into video?
Well, this is a great question, Levi, and I love it because when I got started on Snapchat, a couple of my friends, like here in the Atlanta area, were like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I don't know. I have no idea actually what I'm doing." But for me, it was more about the documentation of, me trying to build a business, me trying to, help people. Um, and in a different life and in a different world, I was, owning and operating a lawn care and landscaping business. And for people that had a yard, that had bushes, that had trees that they were trying to take care of, that information was valuable, and the account grew and the following grew. So I think, in the very beginning, you don't know what you're doing, and so if you're struggling with content, or if you're struggling to figure out and find your voice, I think the easiest way to go about doing that is just documenting versus the creating. And I know Gary Vee talks a lot about this, so if you follow him, you've probably heard this before. But for me, that resonated because I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, this is the first really successful business that I built. So for me, that's the strategy that I took with it.
Yeah, that's great. So, Candice, would you recommend? How did you do your poll? How did you poll? Let me guess. Did you do a poll on Instagram? Is that how you got people to tell you their
I've
words?
I've definitely done that before, and actually, that's content idea for today. I might do that again today to see, because it's been a while since I've done that. Like, hey, what word would you use to describe me, or when you think about me, like what comes to mind first? Um, that'll let you know how people are perceiving your brand, and whether or not that is, in line with how you want them to perceive your brand. So, I actually, this was like before I was even starting on Instagram. So I really just like sat down with friends. I sat down with a couple of my family members and was just like, hey, I have this assignment my coach gave me, right? Always blame it on someone else. I love doing that. Like, yeah, my coach gave me this assignment, so I have to ask you these things. So it's a little bit less weird. But yeah, that's really how it started. It was just conversations, and I took a few notes, and I listened for those the things that they repeated over and over again. Another thing that I think you can do is sit down and think through your values, or determine your values. Like, one of my values is innovation. Another one of my values is partnership. And so when I create content, or when I just approach any decision in my business, I'm always thinking through those lenses. Like, is this giving me the opportunity to partner with people? Am I also showcasing others, right? Like, how am I partnering? Am I continuously being innovative? Am I continuously, evolving and changing? Or am I staying stagnant? So I could just like check myself against my values and make sure that I'm always operating through them.
That's great. And we've had Sean Cannell in here before, and Sean Cannell runs Think Media, and he talks about, you just got to press record. But and let me circle back on that, because I really want to highlight what Candice has said. If you take something away from this room today, I would write these things down. What she said: who you are, who you serve, and how to serve them. So that's really the main goal I think we're discussing here today. And going back to like Sean, it kind of goes into what Matt said. Sean says, "Hey, you just got to press record." That's the tagline for Think Media. That's their intro. Now, I believe in that, but I also believe that having a plan in place is also going to serve you more effectively, because always said, if you treat YouTube like a hobby, it'll pay you like a hobby. If you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like a business. And I believe that's the same on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever your platform of choice is that there is so much on the back end. When you start to look at these platforms from a producer versus a consumer, it does take some studying and some understanding of the platform if you really, truly, ultimately want to be successful on that platform. So I do believe in taking action and just jumping into it, or like Matt did. Okay, I'm not really sure what I'm doing, but I'm just going to get started. That plays along the lines of, hey, you got to just press record. But at the same time, I truly believe in these types of questions that you should answer first. You should have a little bit of a plan or a business plan. I believe that's what's really helped us be very successful from the get-go. Is I took time. I was patient before just starting to actually study YouTube as a platform first, and then develop a plan from there. At the same time, I'm not talking about analysis paralysis and getting and becoming such a studier that you never transition into action. That's the danger side of over analyzing and studying too much, but enough to where that you may not be 100% ready, but you at least have a plan in place. And I think these are three great questions that Candice brought up that we can apply to getting started, to whichever platform you're going to dive into. These are three very, very important questions: who you are, who are you serving, and how can you serve them? And that's what we're diving into today here. So Candice, so let's kind of move over to who you serve. So when you think about, you were thinking about who you are going to serve, or your target audience, or your avatar, what kind of questions should we ask ourselves, or how do we kind of set that in motion as far as who we're going to serve?
So the most common thing that I see is typically we serve people like us, or potentially like us a few years ago. So if you want to think about your audience, it's typically someone similar to you. So you can start thinking about, what are some qualities and traits that I have? What are some maybe problems that I have had in the past? Um, Another thing that you can think about is specifically like what realist sorry, what price point are you trying to sell at? Because that can tell you who it is that you should be talking to. So if you are selling, multi-million dollar homes, then you definitely shouldn't make content about first time home buying, because it's likely not someone's first house at that point, right? So just getting clear about who your target audience is, and then thinking through their pain points. What are they struggling with? What are they scared of? What's keeping them from making a move? Right? If you can think about their pain points, you can think about what they're struggling with, and you can present yourself as the person who has the answer to those things, then they're going to remember you. People remember you when you make them feel seen, heard, or valued. And if you're creating content that's speaking directly to their pain point, they're feeling seen, they're feeling heard, they're feeling valued. So my suggestion is really thinking through the pain points of your ideal client, and then making sure that you're always responding to that. So I know one of my pain points of my client is getting over their fear of showing up on video. So I have this thing that I now say all the time, which is, you have the voice of an angel. You're I'm losing it right now, but you have a voice of an angel, and you're always camera ready. I say that over and over again because I know people are like, oh, I hate the way I sound on video. And then I say you're always camera ready because people are like, well, today I'm not wearing makeup, I didn't do my hair. I'm sure you run into that all the time, Levi. And so so instead of saying that you can't show up, it's like, no, you're always camera ready. I show up after hot yoga looking like a hot mess, literally, and no one's like, oh my gosh, Candice, right? I make content in all different ways. Sometimes I'm fully done, sometimes I'm not, and it doesn't matter. No one cares. And so you have the voice of an angel, you're always camera ready. I say those things over and over because I know I'm speaking to the pain point directly to that. And someone's like, ooh, yep, okay, good reminder.
Yep, and I think that definitely falls into how to serve them, right? Getting into their pain points. I want to go back to who you serve, and I think she made a very important point that I really want to stress here. Now, she said think about who who you want to work with, or people that are like yourself. And I think the easiest way to attract that type of person is to be yourself on camera, just as Candice said. Doesn't matter if she's coming out of hot yoga, or from the gym, or grocery shopping, or completely done up, ready to hit the night on the town, right? Anytime you want to make content, you can make content. But ultimately, us as real estate agents, we have a unique opportunity of meeting our audience. Most YouTubers or most Instagrammers or TikTokers may never meet their audience unless they actually plan some sort of meetup. But again, that's usually somebody who's in the millions and millions of followers, and there's a demand for that. But us as real estate agents, you think about anyone else with 10, 20, 30, or even 100,000 subscribers or followers, whatever the case may be, not necessarily meeting their audience at any particular time. The way they interact is usually through live video or live streams, and that's probably the extent of it. But here we are, we have the opportunity to meet our audience in person. And I think the best way to serve them is, like she said, like attracts like. And if you are yourself, which is to me most important to do, because you're going to attract clients that are like you. It's different if you played a character on YouTube or Instagram and you were never meeting your audience, or you were wearing a costume or an outfit. I mean, that's a little bit of a difference. But if you are completely somebody different, or a character online, and then you have clients come in to meet you, or you're going to conduct real estate transactions with them and you're completely different, I think that could be an issue. And that could now, will that ever get out, or could that be a detriment to your business? Maybe not necessarily, but at the same time, I don't think it's still a good part of the business. So ultimately, you want to be yourself. So if you've got some quirks or some things that you think you're completely different on, or you don't like, or probably one of the biggest things I hear feedback is people with accents, or they English is their second language, so they feel somewhat insecure about that. But the great thing is that if you make videos, the people that call you, they've already made the decision that they want to work with you. So that means they already accept that your accent, or they accept that you speak English as a second language. And so therefore, I believe that breaks that barrier. Otherwise, if you're outbound marketing, or you're trying to capture people where you are trying to develop a relationship with them first, you may always have that insecurity in the back of your mind. But I think video is the ultimate way to free yourself, so to speak, because you can be yourself 100%. And the people that call you, they see that, and they've already made that decision once they call you, that, hey, I like this person for who they are, and I want to work with them because of those reasons. So I think that's very important to always be yourself as well. Um,
Yeah, I agree. I think that for me, that was huge because when I first started in the coaching space, I followed a lot of other coaches, and a lot of other coaches I felt like were just softer than me and nicer than me and a little bit more coddling than I am. And I'm kind of like, should have listened to me. I told you so. Like, that's my vibe. That's just who I am in real life. I've always been that way. And I don't mean anything by it, but when I decided to give myself permission to just be myself, even if I am a little bit annoying, it actually was really helpful, because then the clients who are attracted to that stay around, and we always have a good time together, and we vibe and we flow. But if I was this other person online and then they actually worked with me, they'd be like, who is this person, right? Like, I don't even like this person probably. And so allowing myself to be myself in the online space really allows myself to work with clients I enjoy working with, and who enjoy working with me. So that's really important. Kind of going back to who you serve, a lot of agents, and new agents in particular, are like, I'll work with anyone. And they like are driving hours away from their home to towns that they don't even actually know. And it's just like always a struggle. And it's a lot of time that is being wasted. So thinking specifically about a specific area, I think, is really helpful. Thinking specifically about a specific price point, I think, is really helpful, because then you'll be able to target a specific audience. And obviously, Levi, you know your brand more than me, but I imagine your audience started as people who are interested in living in Dallas. And then you started thinking through, what do people who are interested in living in Dallas want to to know, right? What do they need to know? What are their struggles? What will make them feel more comfortable and confident to make this move? And then I'm sure you thought through, your market price point, because you started another channel recently, right?
Yes, great
The,
point.
the luxury one,
Yes.
because your luxury audience has different questions. Is that
Yeah, and the
right?
main absolutely, and the main thing is that I noticed a cap on clients calling in for the main channel. Was capped around 1.5 million. I mean, that was time and time again. We kept getting calls, and that was probably the max budget. But it makes sense. Why? Because I'm featuring neighborhoods between 500,000 to 1 million,
Absolutely.
and I'm wearing a T-shirt. So also that goes into dressing for the part, and I'm in a T-shirt pretty much every single video. So again, who am I attracting? I'm attracting the 500,000 to $1 million buyers, and it's the casual person, the you know who's just regular Joe. And so I knew I didn't believe that mixing in luxury on top of that, because that audience was so well established, that it would be a good look, or it might even. I just didn't think that was a good feel for it. So that's why we did start a separate channel. And of course, that's where we upgraded video. We went with a completely different look, a completely different plan, and we're wearing nicer clothes and featuring more expensive things, right? Because
Yeah.
that's the audience attracted for that, and immediately we started attracting a higher price point from that channel.
Because you're speaking to that audience with intention and purpose. And I think that so many people are afraid to target a specific audience because they think they're gonna, leave too much business on the table. But what actually happens is you become the person who owns that space, because you're the expert in that thing. And so I love that you started a new channel, because I think that was the exact right move, because it is for a different person.
Matt, anything you'd like to add in there, throw in there about who you serve?
No, I mean, I love this dialogue because I feel like, especially as a new agent, it's super easy to get kind of defeated, might be the right word. But I think in the long run, if you plan to be in this business for a while, defining this avatar early on is really, really important. And in fact, I was just telling another agent here in Atlanta this morning that, I feel like if I had been a lot more clear on that in my first year, that it ultimately would have led me to earlier success. And so whether you're creating content or even just trying to define that perfect client for you, I think you just saying it out loud is really, really powerful, because then, what you start to focus on there is what you ultimately find. So no, I love this conversation.
Justin, my man, I see you jumping back in. I'm not sure if you have much context, but do you have anything you'd like to add about who you serve on, with your channels? Because I know you run very successful channels and generate quite a bit of business as well. Who's your target audience, would you say?
Yeah, so
Or how did you?
I actually want to take this a little bit of a different direction, because as I'm listening to everything you guys are talking about, I want everybody to take note that this goes beyond just working with clients, right? I think the conversation around attracting and repelling the right and the wrong people is very important. What Candice said, yeah, her and I are very similar, right? I'm a lot for a lot of people, and not my energy is not going to be for everybody. But I can also tell you, like I was talking to Ray Ellen about this morning. We just randomly were just catching up on some business stuff, and we were talking about how even our organizations aren't the right fit for some people. Like some people, I'm sure my overwhelming positivity is just too much for them, right? And some people, they do have a scarcity mentality, and they're attracted to the cloak and dagger version of real estate. And sometimes those people, when they end up in those places, are actually a better fit and happier being around people that are like them. Like we're all different animals. I think, if I was going to take it down to video strategy, it's exactly the conversation we're having. The purpose of my channel is fairly clear, right? It's just real estate in southwestern Ontario, showcasing all of the best properties, giving you first access, and the information is a big piece of that. I think for the Prime channel, for my personal channel, we've talked about this as well, and I've been very transparent. I don't coach, I don't pitch, I don't sell anything. I have no intention of doing any of those things. It's my way of giving back to a community that's given me so much. And I also think people kind of see that and the opportunities that come from that are much bigger than some of the things that I could monetize right now. And I did struggle with that a little bit. I actually, Benji Travis helped me work through this personally. He's coming on the podcast on Thursday, and I am fired up for that, because he gave me an idea of, understanding the type of life you want to create and reverse engineering it from that, rather than just chasing somebody else's version of success, if that makes sense, Levi.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. So, hey, Mike, how are you doing? I know you've been kind of hanging out here. So is there anything you wanted to contribute to that, or did you have a general question, or how are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm just kind of along for the ride, and I like to listen and learn. I guess the biggest feedback, I think Matt was kind of talking about me based on the conversation we had a little bit before on getting a little down on yourself a little too early. What kind of advice do you guys have for when we start off as a new realtor and we're doing these videos and your sphere of influence is kind of giving you a lot of negative impact versus what you're putting out there and what they think of your content, even though some content's better than no content? How do you guys kind of navigate through who's really supporting you, who's bringing you down, and how to actually find the happy medium so you can keep producing content?
I'd say sounds like you need a new sphere, first of all.
Fair enough.
Okay, I completely agree with that. When I started hanging out with other content creators, it really changed the game for me, because content creators aren't going to hate on your content, right? Like that's just not, they know how it feels. And so they're not going to do that. They'll help you get better, but they're not going to hate. But here's what I'll say. Sometimes the hardest part is when it's your partner or your parents, right? Or maybe your kids. I don't know. But when it's those people that we can't necessarily just get a new spear, I'd say don't talk to them about your content. You do you. And you want to make sure that when you are talking to people about your content, or if they are saying something about your content, just don't engage with that conversation, because what's going to happen is next year, 2 years from now, they're going to be asking you all these questions, and you're going to be like, "Okay, this is interesting because you were just hating on me because you were like, who does, like, for me it was like, who does she think she is? She's a middle school teacher. Like, who does she think she is talking about branding? Who does she think she is talking about content? Like, she doesn't know." And there was a point that I didn't know, and I committed to learning, right? So I still showed up anyways. And then had I listened to the people who told me that I wasn't qualified, I didn't have enough experience, I wasn't ready, then I wouldn't have got to sit next to Ryan Serhant and speak at his mastermind. So I'm glad I didn't listen to them, right? So yes, level up your sphere, get around the people who have a life that you want to have. That's really, really important. And then, if it's your friends and family, like, create healthy boundaries for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, Sean Cannell just posted this reel, I don't know, a day or two ago. It's funny. I don't know if anybody saw the post interview with the LA Rams wide receiver. His last name is Cup, I believe, or Coop, Cup or Coop, Cup. And the reporter asked him after the game, when that blitz came in on that last play, what were you thinking, or something like that? And he went off on, you think about, you may think football is simple, but think about all the plays, and they change this stuff every year. The playbook, the plays. I mean, think about when they get in that huddle and they call the play, but how many moving parts there is, and everybody has to know everybody's job. And he went into this completely detailed description about basically every position on the field and how he made that work, which to pretty much everybody on the planet, we're all going, what did he just say? And Sean Cannell's reel was, he just put the caption of that, and he said, "Me trying to explain YouTube to my friends and family," and it's just one of those things where, that you're the regular person, the regular sphere is not really going to understand what it is we're doing. Doesn't matter what it is, but you get in a room with Candice and Matt and Justin and Marina and Dania and Olivier and other people that create content and do this sort of thing. Guess what? We will talk all day long about it. We will never tear you down. We may give pointers for improvement or something like that, but there's probably something we learn from you as well as you learn from us. And that's the people that you absolutely want to be around. And also, people tend to criticize things they don't understand, and so it's one of those things where you just keep going forward and move on, and just understand where you are, and your goals and what do you want to accomplish, and keep moving forward. I mean, otherwise it is it's just a work in progress. And ultimately, in the end, if you keep at it and stay consistent, in a year everything will be completely different. And what's funny is, I never really told anybody I was getting on YouTube or starting that. And I also kind of like that from YouTube's kind of like the ninja platform, right? It's not where your friends and family go to consume your content, especially if you don't tell them about it, right? They're not on there seeing it in your feed and all that stuff every day. So I kind of hid from everybody, from the beginning. But now everybody sees that success, and now, of course, now everybody's on board, right? Everybody's happy for you and excited. So that's the ultimate way to also quiet the noise, is to be successful. And they say success is the best revenge. So not that you're out to try to get anybody, but it's just, hey, keep your head down and work hard towards it, keep going, and things will be completely different 6 months to a year later. Matt, I know a lot of people hate your content. No, I'm just kidding. I know you get a lot. How do you
I'm
deal
actually
with it on
laughing.
the
Well, I mean, I will share with you, Mike, like in the first year that I was doing, Instagram stories and Facebook videos and YouTube and all this stuff, and I was using it as an opportunity to communicate with my sphere. And I'll never forget, because you remember the highs and you remember the lows. And for me, this is something that Amanda Dahl down in the audience, or followed by speakers section, kind of reminded me of yesterday, is when people tell you who they are, you need to believe them. And so, someone that I had kind of been friends with, I mean, a little more than acquaintances, but like we weren't best friends, was like, I'll think about you when you stop sending me these silly little videos. And I was like, you know what? Fine. I know where you stand, right? And he and I now joke about it, and I don't send him videos anymore. I don't communicate with him via social media. But the other point I was going to mention here, Mike, is that whether someone loves or hates Matt LaMarche, or loves my content or hates it, there's always going to be that disparity, I feel like, right? Like, I'm not for everyone, just like Levi's not for everyone, just like Candice and Justin aren't for everyone. And so I think Candice mentioned this earlier, kind of finding, your groove with this stuff. I don't listen to either side, honestly. Like, I just keep my head down. So even when someone's like, man, Matt's content is awesome, he's crushing it, blah, 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 like, I appreciate it, I acknowledge it, but then I just move on. Because honestly, if you're doing it only for that, you're going to fail. Like, there will be no consistency or system to it. And I can appreciate it in the moment, but then I just put my head back down and I keep working on it. So I don't really care what other people say about my content. Do I want it to resonate with people? Sure. Do I want more people to see it? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, I'm not trying to put a square peg into a round hole. It's ultimately up to the consumer to decide, whether they're in or out.
I want to give a shout out to someone in the audience. I see Brandon Jackson in the audience, and I know from his social media that he recently closed his first deal. And I want to say congratulations, Brandon. So exciting. I've been watching you for months create content and create content. And, we've had a few chats in the DMs. You've asked questions, you've showed up, you've learned, you're here learning, and it's all going to snowball for you, and I'm just so excited for you. I was happy to see you in this room, and I know that this is just the beginning of so much more business for you from your content.
Get up here, Brandon.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm gonna unfollow
And
him.
again, guys, this is an open stage. So anybody has any questions, comments, and or contributions, feel free to come up. Of course, we love all of the input from everyone. But yeah, Brandon, I tell you what, we had this room in here with Taya DiCarlo, and she said Brandon had the voice like butter. And I thought, well, hey, if you get
From
that compliment
yeah,
from
yeah.
Taya. Yeah, you get that compliment from Taya. I was like, you have to be on video. You can't go back from that. You just can't go back from that. Let me see, Danny. I'm trying to get you up on stage. I know you're coming up.
Yeah,
Brandon.
you too as well. Daniel, you may have to pop out and pop back in.
Oh, there she
Sorry,
is.
guys, I was doing a few things.
Okay, there you go. Hey, Dania, welcome to the stage. How are
I
you?
am great. Thank you.
Great. Would you like to briefly introduce yourself? And did you have a question, comment, or contribution?
I don't. I've just been absorbing everything, and I'm just really getting. I disrupted my algorithm on purpose. So if anybody has any suggestions on getting it back together, because so I'm Daniel Parker Smith. I live in London, Ontario. I kind of share the same market as Justin, but he works in a little different customer or client base. But anyways, I started my YouTube channel last fall and I saw it growing really fast, but YouTube decided that I was really geared for student rentals for the university students. So I literally paused and kind of disrupted my algorithm on purpose, hoping that when I get back here, which is going to be in the next week, I can start pounding it out and Google will start to recognize, or YouTube will start to recognize it a little different. So if you have any tips for me on making sure that I target it to the right people or target it in the right direction, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think just continually create content towards the areas and the clients you want to serve, and somehow you got that student. I think you can wash that out. I mean, it may take a little time, or not sure how that happened or what may have triggered that, or that could just be a majority of people researching that area right now. So I would say just continue to focus on the price points, the areas, and the clients you want to serve, and that'll attract the right people, and probably scale that down. But otherwise, I mean, we get inquiries all the time for rentals, and I would also recommend either finding a rental agent or somebody that serves that market in your area, because that way you can create a referral system, but also keep them in the pipeline for possible purchases down the road. And so we never want to discount our renters because of that opportunity. And of course, since we deal with quite a bit of relocation, they come in and some want to rent for 3 months to 6 months, or even 9 or 12. And the great thing is people we were starting to help out this time last year that did rent, are coming out of their leases. So all of it's just it's a pipeline. But I would just continue to focus on the areas, price points, and clients you want to serve. Just keep making content for that. And does that help?
Yeah, Levi, that's great. And also just had, been going through your course that you have and the layering pieces that you have. I find that just such a great idea. And I'm so excited to start implementing that. I just wanted to clarify that when I talk about student housing here, so, university-based city, student housing means people are trying to rent one room for about $500 a month. So it's a little bit different than just a rental piece. I've never turned away a rental. I've always found those a very lucrative investment or client relationship. So that's the part I just want to clarify is the $500 rooms makes it a little challenging because I don't have that in my baseline. So
I gotcha. Well, I was going to ask Justin, since he's in the market, I wonder if he gets inquiries for the same thing. But okay. Well, I don't know, Matt or Candice, any input there?
I
Not
feel like that
particularly.
one was all Levi. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely keywords and making sure that you are creating content targeting who you want to work with.
I was going to say,
All right,
Danielle,
great.
I don't know how that happened. If there was even one video that popped off that was talking about that subject, or like Candice mentioned, keywords or anything like that
yeah,
that you know of.
probably was my videos where I talked a lot about the university and the
That may
education.
do it.
Probably was that.
Well, there you go. It's all your fault. All right. So,
Which is great because that
uh,
means you can fix it, right? When you know it's
yeah.
you, it's like, oh, okay, now I could pivot. Got it. Won't do that again.
Absolutely. So thanks so much, you guys. I appreciate all your feedback.
Awesome. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Feel free to come up. We got about 15 minutes here. We want to be respectful of everybody's times. Again, there's little arrows in the left-hand bottom. If you could share this room, that would be greatly appreciated. I mean, that would really mean a lot. Just gets the word out there a little bit more and helps bring some notice to the club and to this room. We host this every Tuesday, 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, and where we feature the best content creators in the real estate space, or video content creators in general sometimes as well. But overall, principles and fundamentals of the platforms are really the same. It's just once you understand the platform, I think that's how you really move into adjusting it for your niche, which can be real estate, it could be mortgage, it could be small business, it could be commercial finance. I mean, whatever it is you're working on, you really need to understand the principles and fundamentals of the platform first. That's what I believe. So let's get into the last part that Candice mentioned. And thank you, Candice, for giving us all the content to talk about today as well. So how to serve your audience. You kind of touched on that a little bit earlier with the price points. I mean, we talked about dressing the part for the clients. I mean, we've really kind of uh, talked about this a little bit, but do we want to dive in a little bit more about how to serve your audience? Is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I like to say it how you serve them, because then you can come up with your own unique value add, your unique system, your sometimes people call it your value proposition, right? What is the way you uniquely serve your clients that's better than everyone else, or maybe not better, but just different and the right fit for your client, right? So I think it's really thinking through how you serve your client and what is unique about that that makes people feel like you're the right choice for them. So getting really clear on that does matter, and sometimes that's hard to figure out what makes you uniquely different. I think that my Surham family helped me to understand what makes me uniquely different, because they pointed it out multiple times. But this is something that I never really talk about, but I am a certified life coach. I got certified about 7 years ago. And so I spent some time studying just about, how to plan for the life that you want, how to think through your values, how to take action when you don't feel ready. Like those kinds of things were all things that I studied. And my Surham family was very quick to point out to me, like, Candice, you uniquely approach this work different because you were always thinking through the lens of a life coach. You're always thinking through like the human aspect of why someone wouldn't, create video content, why someone wouldn't put themselves out there marketing, why someone wouldn't ask to speak on the stage at the next event, right? And so they're like, that's your unique positioning, the thing that you do differently than other strategists. So that was actually like really helpful for me, because then I could think about, oh, maybe I should lean into that even more, because I never say it. And I never really talk about it, not even on Instagram. But when people watch me coach, that's what comes out for them. So that's helpful for me to think about. I don't know if that was helpful or that was me just rambling. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was more rambling, but we got the picture. No, I'm just kidding. No, that was great. Thank you so much. That was good. All right. Well, Olivier, you joined us on stage. How are you doing today, my friend? Did you have a question, comment, contribution that you'd like to throw in here?
Hello, hello. Yes, I actually have a question. Nice to see you, Candice. Long time no
Hi,
see.
Olivia. It's been too long.
It's been too long, but you can see me on YouTube now. So I've started my YouTube channel
Oh.
January, but you won't understand anything I say because I do it in French. So and I actually found my voice, which is good because I'm the guy that does all kinds of weird real estate. So I like to answer. What I do is weekly, I answer one question and I do a video on it. And my first videos weren't that good. I'm getting better every time. But now I want to do 2 posts a week. But I feel like I don't want to do the only the answering a question type of post. And I'm not a lifestyle guy. You won't see me go and, oh, this nice restaurant in that nice neighborhood. But I have I don't know, I'll say a liking to talking about business, talking about mentorship, talking about um, the mental aspect of being a real estate agent or things like that. And I'm wondering, would that fit into the same type of YouTube channel that I have right now, which is answering a question on real estate? Like last week, my video was on, do you buy new or used? Like, do you buy an already built house or a new house? So that's the type of question I answer. But if I do something on why do you need to have a will, for example, that doesn't tie into real estate, but that ties into more personal finance, but that ties in a bit into real estate. So should I do a different channel for that? Would it make sense to put it on the same channel? Like Tuesday's post would be more like that, and Friday's post would be more answering a question on real estate. So that would be the question that I have right now.
Well, I definitely have my opinion. Candice, do you have something you'd like to throw in there as far as helping him
Oh,
out?
I really want to listen to your opinion, Levi. I feel like it goes back to knowing your audience. So knowing what your audience, how they're motivated might matter, right? So if you know that your audience is thinking about investing, building wealth through real estate, that type of thing, then I would create content along those lanes. But then you're probably not talking to the same client who, I don't know, wants to learn how to get their first loan, maybe, because you're talking to an investor who's probably at a different space. That's my 2 cents. Levi, what do you got?
Yeah, I love this question because I like the analogy of YouTube. YouTube is the desert, and I think not the problem, but I think the challenge that some people face is that they want to talk about what they want to talk about. Not that that's a bad thing, but ultimately it's your interest, and in order to talk about your interest or a wide variety of topics, let's say sort of similar to a variety channel, which if you're not honed in on one specific niche, then it's technically a variety channel. And find that having that audience find you on YouTube, to me, it's like being in the desert. YouTube is the desert. Now, you could have 50 gallons of water, which, Olivier, your 50 gallons of water is all your years of experience, which it is vast, right? You know a lot of things on a lot of different subjects. But you got that 50 gallons of water, and there's people all over the desert, but they don't know how to find you. And if one person finds you based on your mentoring or mental health or mortgage questions or things that you're answering, they could find you. But what if they stumble upon a real estate video first? They could say, well, this is not the channel for me, and they go and wander off. And so you run that risk of, when people find your audience, if they don't find the exact video that you're trying to attract, then you may lose them from the very beginning. Now, however, I believe that if you create your content around a very specific niche, and if who do you want to serve? It goes back to Candice, who do you want to serve? Do you want to serve real estate clients, or do you want to serve real estate agents, or do you want to serve small business owners? Those are three completely different audiences, but those people are all sitting on YouTube. They're out there. They're under the palm trees in the desert, right? But you have a GPS. Whenever you say, okay, I want to serve a specific audience, your GPS is going to tell you exactly where they're at. And if you take your 50 gallons of water over to there and there's 5,000 people huddled under that group of palm trees, they will drink the water because they're searching for that content. But you can only go to one group of trees at a time, right? So your mortgage people or your small business people or your mentorship people or your real estate agents, they're all under all these other groups of trees all scattered throughout the desert. And so trying to go to each one of them is going to take you a very long time, but also trying to attract those people, they would have to find you. And if you're not niched in like that, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be more challenging. It's going to take longer. That's why people get onto YouTube and tend to spin their wheels, because they're trying to capture everyone instead of a specific type of person. And that's where I believe you can build your channel in the beginning based on search, because if you look at search on Google and TubeBuddy and YouTube, I mean, they tell you what people are searching for. And then also that also allows you to structure those questions. So if you want to serve a real estate, people who buy and sell real estate clients, retail clients, then you can look at all your questions, but then you can also find out what's the most search questions and start with that first. And whenever you answer those questions, you already have an audience that's out there looking for those answers. And so it'll be a lot easier to attract them to you. And so therefore, if you have different topics, then I believe it's best served with different channels. However, doing that all at once is a lot. So I believe it's also better in your interest to dial in on one audience, one channel, get that under control, learn the process, develop your flow, and trust me, 6 months, a year will come and go very quickly. And if you start your second channel in 6 months or a year, you'll be much better equipped to do that because you'll have that experience, you'll have the knowledge, and you'll probably do things differently on top of that. But otherwise, when you include multiple topics on your channel, and again, you attract the right client who you're trying to attract, but it's a different topic that they find on your channel, I believe you run the risk of losing them. And it's just a lot harder for people to really nail down what is this channel actually about. And so you can do it, but I also think it takes a lot more time to do that, as to where creating the content that people are already searching for, I believe that you'll attract them much quicker. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And you know what? That's what I was thinking too. I'm like, I'm going to be all over the board if I do that. And I'm still building the audience because the channel is brand new, right? And you're not getting hundreds of followers after 3-4 videos in 3-4 weeks. And I'm posting one a week now because I figured I better do one a week than say, oh, I'm going to do 4 or 5 a week. Then after, a month, I'm going to run out of steam. But I feel now that I could probably do two. Last Thursday, I batched content. I batched 4 videos in 2.5 hours. So, I have content for 4 weeks. And I'm like, yeah, I could probably do more, but I want to find the right content. So I think I'll stick to one a week, continue building my audience, seeing what actually works, and go from there. And then I'll see. And I don't want to do a second YouTube channel, right? At least not right now, because it doesn't make sense. What I was trying to find is there any other type of content I could blend in easily. But I think I can go with more real estate stories, questions, that I'll be able to generate more content when that, and we'll see where that goes. And I'll adapt. I've already adapted my videos, and I'll continue to adapt in the following weeks.
Justin, how about yourself? Did you catch Olivier's question as far as doing a lot of things on one channel? I mean, what would be your recommendation there?
Yeah, I mean, it's very timely that you asked me this, Olivier, because I literally asked Benji this last Thursday. I just DM'd him and then he called me and we talked about it for 30 minutes, which is just an indication of his character. And being around the right people, like Candice said, like the Sirhan team, find people that will pour into you and you give it back, right? And this is my version of doing that. And his answer to the question was yes and yes, right? Like you can definitely do that, but it's going to take a lot longer, right? To Levi's point, like if you can get on YouTube and you can tell the algorithm exactly who is going to be watching the videos, it makes it a lot easier for the algorithm to build it. Now, at the same time, YouTube is not easy, right? I think a lot of people think, oh, I'll put out a couple videos, answer a couple questions, and it's going to pop off. My phone's going to be ringing. Like I would argue you got to commit to it for 6 to 9 months before you have any expectation of the phone ringing, and then take it from there, right? So I guess, Levi, just to kind of wrap it up back to what you said, who are you making videos for? Like, I know you super well, Olivier. You're a super insightful guy, and I think you want to make videos that you find are interesting. But what's the purpose of your channel, and why are you making the videos? You got to ask yourself that, and then that's the answer.
Yep, who you serve. So that's exactly, I think we really covered those 3 points today that Candice brought up from the very beginning. As you get started, or if you're just starting, I mean, these are the 3 questions I think are really, really key. And this goes into creating a plan. If you treat Instagram like a hobby, it'll pay you like a hobby. And most of the time, hobbies don't pay that much. But if you treat it like a business, let's just say platforms, if you treat these platforms like hobbies, then they'll pay you like hobbies. If you treat them like a business, they can pay you like a business. But also, I think it's very hard to dabble on all the platforms. And what I've seen the most successful content creators, at least in the real estate space and almost any space I've seen, they're really dialed in on one platform first. And they have presence. I mean, they have presence on the other platforms, but most people are really all in on their primary platform, and then they just contribute to the other platforms. But you can tell that they really create their content. Now, if you're creating content for a platform, it's always best to create it natively, specifically for that platform. But again, we have presence on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube Shorts and LinkedIn and Facebook, but I don't really create additional content for that. It's all of our long form content chopped up, and it serves all of that. But that's okay. That's for me because our primary focus is there, but we have presence everywhere else. So, Candice, thank you so much. Is there anything you would like to wrap up with as far as the topics we covered today? Any last words of wisdom you could share with the group as far as being better on video or with video?
I would just say that y'all are leaving today with some homework, answering those 3 questions: who you are, who you serve, and how you serve them. I think that's going to be really important. That's the basis of your personal brand. That's really going to help guide you so you can stop asking yourself what you're supposed to post and start creating content that speaks to your audience. And I'll just also remind you that when you get on video, calm your nerves by talking like you're talking to a friend. If you can share the information just like you would with your best friend, I literally used to imagine my best friend Corey in my mind, and I'd be like, how would I deliver this information to Corey? And I sounded way more like myself than when I wasn't doing that. So try that. Let me know how it goes. I'd be happy to chat with you. Thank you so much, Levi, for having me. Justin, Matt, it was great to see you and be on with you today too. Thank you.
Yes, thank you again, Candice, for joining us. Guys, thank you for sharing the room, and follow Candice not only on Clubhouse, but also Instagram. Definitely, and follow everyone. Actually, follow Justin, Matt, Dania, Mike as well. And I mean, everybody in this room, just follow each other. But now, hey, thank you so much for coming today. Again, we will see you next week, same bat time, same bat channel. And again, guys, thanks for all your help. Thanks for the contributions, and let us know if we can help you out in any other way. And until next time, well, we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us on today's podcast. If you're interested in partnering with us to access our YouTube course and coaching all for free, schedule a call at 5starstrategycall.com.